So going back to our program that kind of has all of our end goals on it, the next thing that we're going to want to add is this analog gauge that is going to show the speed of our drive. And also we're going to pull the bus voltage, the motor voltage, and the motor amps out of the drive. So we're going to open up our toolbox and scroll down, and we're going to find the analog gauge. And so we're going to drag it over. And there's tons of formatting you can do on this. And again, I don't want to get too far into how you should make an HMI display, but in this case, this seems very abrupt to me for something that's really just indicating a speed. I mean, I think start, that kind of needs to be clear. Stop, that ought to be clear. But here we're just kind of indicating something. It doesn't need to be quite so bold. So if we click on it and then click on the properties on the right side, we have lots of options for it. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want to change this background color. And I want to change it to the same background that we're using on the rest of it. And if I go down here to my recent colors, I can just click there. And there, already that looks a little more appealing to me. But then we still have this raised border, and I'm just not a fan of that. So I'm going to go back to properties. And here we have a border style. Now I'm going to click it and I'm going to select none. And there, I think that just looks a little more pleasing. So we're going to drag it down. Let's make it a little larger. And now, just like with our start and stop, we need to assign a tag to it. So we're going to go over to our tags and we're going to add a new one. And let's call this one actual speed. And this is going to be a data type of real. And the address in our PLC is also going to be actual speed. And that will be to PLC 1. Now if we go back over to our screen and we double click on our gauge, we're going to see this read tag here. And so our read tag is going to be actual speed. And we're going to leave this at minimum value of 0 to maximum value of 100. That'll be 0 to 100%. And then already I realized that even on my master program here that we're following, well, I guess it is kind of clear because we'll have this right beside of it. But it's not perfectly clear what this gauge is. At least right now it's not. So for now, let's add some text to this. So let's go back to our toolbox and let's find text. And let's just drag that text over. And we're going to call this speed. Okay, now again, I think that's a little abrupt because really we just want a nice little label for this. So I'm going to click on properties of this and I'm going to change the background color to our background. And then again, I am going to remove this border there. So now we can move that right up in there. See, and I want this up pretty close. Now, if you notice, if I move it up though, it's really blocking it really bad. And the issue is this box is way too big for my text size. If I mouse over that top square there, I can click it and I can make the speed smaller. Whoops, went way too far. So bring it up a little bit, just until, there you go, now it shows. Now I can bring it right up into there and I can indicate what it is. And I think that looks pretty nice. So now we want to add this bus voltage, the motor voltage, and the motor amps. That way we've got a few other things to read here. So we're going to go back over to ours. First, let's create some tags for these. So we'll add, and this one is going to be our bus voltage. And it will also be a real, and the address in our PLC is also bus voltage. And that'll be to our PLC. And then we're going to add another one. And this will be motor voltage. And it's going to be a real, and also its tag in the PLC will be motor voltage. And finally, we will configure one more called motor amps. And it'll be a real, and its tag is motor amps. Okay, now we'll go back to our screen and open our toolbox, and we're going to drag another text field down. Now, in this case, we just made some static text, but if you notice in this editor, we have the option to actually put in the current date, the time, a number, or a string. So what I'm going to put is bus space, and then I'm going to click number, and I'm going to put in our bus voltage. And then we need to select the number of digits. Now, the number of digits is how many numbers do you want? And that includes before and after the decimal place. So in this case, our bus voltage is going to be somewhere in the range of 300 volts. And I want 1 decimal on the end of that. And so in that case, I want 4 digits. And then decimal places, I want 1. And then you could have it filled with spaces, zeros, or in my case, I want no fill. So now it's going to say bus, and it'll have a space, and then it's going to have the value of the bus voltage. And to finish it off, I want to put some units there. So I'm going to put space VDC. So that'll say bus space, the value of the voltage, space VDC at the end. All right, so first, you see it ended up a double line because I'm way too narrow. So I want to drag that out because I want it on a single line. And again, I don't like this abruptness. I want it to blend in, you know, and just kind of be a nice value that you can look at. So I'm going to click my properties, and I'm going to go up to my background color and select that. And then I'm going to remove the line style. Also, you know, I'm changing the background color. You actually could go up here to fill style, and you could put it on transparent. That would be another way to do it. It would do the exact same thing. Okay, so there's our bus voltage. Now, one other thing I see also is this defaults to center, but I want these all lined up on the left. So we're going to go back to properties, and let's find the alignment. And we're going to change this alignment from center. And you see we have actually 9 options. I want it middle left. So that's where we're going to put this at. So that looks pretty nice. Now I'm going to copy and paste this. So we can either right click or we can hit Control C. And then we can either right click again or we can hit Control V. And that's going to bring a second copy of that down. You see you have really free reign of where you want to put this. But it's really hard to get these two lined up. So in some cases, you can right click and we're going to show grid. And now I can move this and it's kind of jumpy. And what that's going to let me do is move these really close and line them up nicely. So I like that right there. So now we're going to open this one up, the second one. And we want to change its tag here because right now it says bus and then the voltage value of the bus and VDC. Well, first this is actually the motor. So motor, and then we want to change this tag from bus voltage to motor voltage. And again, I think probably 4 digits with 1 decimal place will be pretty nice on that. But this is going to be the AC because our motor voltage is AC volts. All right, now we're going to copy and paste that one more time. And we're going to drag that, and we want it so it's lined up with the other 2 here. And we'll double click it, and I'm going to keep that as motor, but now I want amps. And then this doesn't pull that many amps. So I think I'm good with 2 digits, and I'm going to keep it as 1 decimal place. Uh-oh, I got a flashing thing. Number of digits must be at least 2 greater than the decimal places. Oh. I'm not sure why. I'll have to look that up later, but okay, this is going to have to be 3 apparently. So there we go. And okay, this is not VAC, this is going to be amps. So let's go ahead and see what this does. So let's download our program, which we're going to do by right-clicking and then download. And then let me show you a few things that I did add to our user-defined function block program to make this work. So if I open up my Micro 820 program, then over here, I moved the PowerFlex bus voltage to the tag bus voltage. Then I moved the PowerFlex output voltage to motor voltage. And finally, I moved the PowerFlex output current to the motor amps. Okay, so there we go. We have bus voltage, and yeah, our bus voltage is already showing 334 volts. And then we have amps and volts. So let's hit the start button. Okay, and yeah, our gauge is going up, saying that we're speeding up. We're getting motor volts, and we're getting some motor amps. All right, hit the stop button. There we go. All right, so that worked pretty good. Now let's talk about how we can control our motor speed. And first we're going to need a tag for that. So we're going to go to tag, and we're going to add a tag called speed command. And that's going to be a real, and we're going to use speed command as our PLC tag name. Then we're going to go to the screen and our toolbox. And we haven't really talked about the organization of this. First, we have entry, and that means things that can write something to a tag. And then we have drawing tools, and then we have basic displays, and then we have some more advanced features down here. But so under display, we do have numeric display, which would display our commanded speed, but that's not going to let you write to it. So if you want to be able to write to something, you need to use these entry ones up here. And so up here, we have numeric entry. So we're going to bring that over. And then we'll go to properties of it. And if we look down here, we have a write tag. And our write tag is going to be the speed command. I'm going to bring that in a little closer here. That looks pretty good. Go to properties. If we scroll up here, here's our background color. And actually, I'm going to make this 1D4288. Now, why am I doing that? It's just because it's one of the TW Controls colors. And I'm going to make our border color the same color. There we go. Now let's download this and see what it does. Okay, so now we do have a button here, but it doesn't really tell us anything. And if we touch it, it just all looks like 0. And the issue is that the write tag and the read tag can actually be two different things. And there are sometimes you may want to do that, but in our case, we want them to be the same. So if we click back on our button here and we go back to properties, then we had the write tag of speed command. We also need this indicator tag here of speed command. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it display and be able to write to the same tag. So let's download that. And now you see it says 100 here. Let's talk about how we're dealing with this commanded speed. Because again, all of our tags in our user-defined function program were local tags. So if we go over here to our Micro 820 program, then what I have done here is I've used a scalar instruction. And I have that speed command, which is our global variable, and 0 to 100, min and max on it, is going to be 0 to 60, which is 0 to 60 hertz. And we're outputting that to the PowerFlex speed reference that we're using in the function block. Also, while we're right here, we're also getting the speed feedback. I don't think I talked about that earlier. We had actual speed here, and that is the PowerFlex speed feedback. And I've done the opposite. So the scalar on it is 0 to 60 is our min and max, and our output is 0 to 100. And we've done videos on the scalar before, so check out the whole series if you need help on those. But so now, in addition to being able to write to it, it says right now we're 100%. So if we hit our start button And again, I apologize, the fan does pick up bad on the mic. But yeah, our gauge is running up. Certainly looks like it's heading towards 100. All right, so let's say we want to drop that to 50. All right, it looks like it's settling in right at 50%. But okay, if you notice, we can only enter whole numbers here. In other words, if I want to put 50.2, notice it puts 502. There was no decimal. So let's talk about how we could change that and make a decimal. So let's click on our numeric entry and go to properties. And then right here, it says decimal point, fixed position. And what we want to do is we want to change that to keypad controlled. And now let's download that and see how it works differently. So now it says 50, but if I touch it, now I can enter 50.2. Enter. And we're going to be able to put decimals in. So that gets us where we can enter a value. But we could also do some other things. Let's say that we wanted it where somebody could just hit a button to increase the speed and hit another button to decrease the speed. For that, we're going to use the same type of buttons we used here for the start stop. So let's go to our toolbox and we're going to drag down a momentary button. And then actually I jumped ahead of myself. First we need to create a couple tags for it. So let's open up our tags and add. And we're going to make a tag called increase speed. And that'll be a reel. Increase speed. That's interesting. I think I forgot to put in the PLC 1, but it was working. We may have to jump back to that later, but that should have been PLC 1. Not sure, maybe I just deleted that. We'll have to look at the video afterward. But yeah, all these should say PLC 1 in them. So we'll add another one, and this tag will be decrease speed, and it's a reel, and the tag in the PLC will be decrease speed. Now, all these have been matching up in this video, but you can remember from the previous video, the tag name in the HMI doesn't have to actually match the tag name in the PLC. But in these, I did make it the same, just to make it a little easier on us. Oh, but I did make a mistake there. Increase speed, that should be a Boolean, just the same as the start button and the stop button. And our decrease speed should be Boolean, because those are on or off. There are ones or zeros. So now let's go to our screen and click on our button. And okay, if we double click on our numeric entry, it doesn't do anything. But if we double click on this, the same as our start stop, it does give us options for the various states of this. So first, I want to change my background color. And I'm just going to use that same color that I used on our speed command. And I'm going to also change it. It'll be the same thing when it's pressed. And our text on this one is going to be increase. And our text, again, it'll still be increase. Now you could have it where when you press the button it says something different. I'm not going to do that in this case. All right, now see, we have a problem here though. Our field isn't wide enough. So let's just bring that out. So that one's wide enough now. And we'll bring out our speed command to match it. So now let's copy. Oh, we didn't actually assign it a tag. So let's go to properties. And then right here, we have a right tag. And our right tag is going to be increase speed. And then let's copy and paste that. And this one, let's make decrease speed. And it is going to be a tag of, whoops, a little crazy, decrease speed. So we're going to go ahead and download this. Then let me show you what we did in our Micro 820 program to make this work. So we go to our program here. Then right here, I have these one shots that are mapped to the increased speed and the decreased speed. And so the increased speed takes our speed command and adds 1 to it. Now I could make it a 10th if I wanted, but I just chose 1, and it adds it right to that speed command. And same, the decreased speed subtracts 1 from our speed command and puts it right in the speed command. And then I do a check here at the end, because obviously we want to end up at 0 to 100%. So if our speed command becomes less than 0, we're going to put 0 into the speed command. That way, because if we're at 0 and I hit the decrease button, it's going to make it -1. Well, we don't want that. So it just makes a limit where it puts it back at 0. And the same with our increase. If we're at 100 and we increase it by 1, it'd be 101. And I just move 100 back to it. And I just move 100 back to it. So now let's see what this does. So, all right, we're showing 50.2, and we're going to hit the start button. All right, and yeah, we're showing 50. And, all right, if I hit the increase button, we can hear the motor speeding up, and we can see our gauge here going up. And there we go. We can hit the down, and it's going to show it going back down.